Okay, so now we are continuing with ungrouped data. So this is for this. So we've seen this formula before. That the mean, actually the mean can also be called average. That the mean is equals to the sum of items out of the total number of items. Now we're introducing another format of writing these formulas, and we are going to write it like this. I'm going to explain what this means. Now this symbol, we are going to use it a lot. This symbol means summation. Yes, so if I say this, maybe I mean like add, sum these things up. Then x actually represents our actual values. I'm going to explain this on an example. X means our actual values. So this is how we are going to, this is a formula we are going to be using even for ungrouped data, but we're going to see how it applies. Then the range is the highest value minus the lowest value. So this is how we calculate the mean. The symbol for mean is this x bar. Hope you can always remember this, but the range is the highest value minus the lowest value. Then the variance. Now many of us have been familiar with calculating variance for grouped data, but many people are not aware that we can calculate variance also for ungrouped data. So the formulas we have many formulas, but actually not many, but it's one formula, but it's written in different ways. Though we are going to use this out of n squared. So I think if you look into this properly, you see that it's the mean. So meaning we can say variance is equals to summation of x squared. So just hold on a bit, we're going to see how to do this with specific examples for ungrouped data. Actually, this is the only new thing we're going to see in ungrouped data. Otherwise, most of the other things are just obvious things. So this is how we're going to find the variance. Okay, I'm quoting this other formula, we will not use it, but they give it the same outcome, where we have summation of x minus this squared out of the summation, out of n. So this is our other formula, but as I've said, we're going to use the one above. Another thing for formulas, let me write the very last one. So we also have standard deviation. This is equals to the square root of the variance. So you don't have to just always calculate your variance. After calculating your variance, standard deviation is equals to the square root of the variance, and then you get your answer. But don't forget that all these things, except the standard deviation, they're all going to have the same units as, for example, if we're dealing with marks, all these will be, in percentage, all these will be in percentage. Hope that makes sense. So let's look at the example and see what I was saying. So here we have students got the following marks: a statistical test, find the mode, median. Let's also find the variance. So we're going to have this. So we're going to rearrange this. Now in statistics, note, most of the times we're not interested in the individuals. We're not interested in Barack, James, Peter. For us, we're interested in these values. We want to find what is the average mark for this class or in this test. Maybe we want to test how good have the people understood this topic. So we are mostly interested in these marks. So now what we call the x values usually are the marks, or like the variable in this term, which are the marks. So we have 82, 50, 60, 90, 77. And now I told you last time we don't have to write this twice. If like a number exists, so we don't have to write it twice. Then now f represents the frequency. Frequency is like how many times does that number occur. Now here for 82 it's occurring twice, as you can see. This 50 is occurring once, occurring once, occurring once. So you see that the summation of f should give you the total number of items. So 2 plus 1 plus, so it's 6, so which is 6. We have 6 items. So always that should be like a guiding. So here you already see that we already know the mode. Why? Just look for the number with the highest frequency. In this case, 2 is the highest number in the frequency, and the mark with the highest frequency is 82. Now let's now go to finding the mean. Remember we said mean is the sum of the items out of the total number of items. However, for us we said we can find mean by saying summation of x out of n, but this n is like the number of items. This n can also be written as the summation of f, which is summation of the frequency. So here we are going to add this, and I think in the previous example we had already done that, so I'm going to leave it at this, such that you just continue add everything. You always usually there are marks for your working, so you write it like this. Write it like this out of the summation of this, which is 6. Then you put your final answer. But remember, whatever units here, if this is in percentage, even the mean, its units is percentage. Then the median, for this one actually, the form, it doesn't change. You just do it the same way we did in the previous example. You list these in ascending order or descending order, and then you keep tallying. Now we are going to the variance. So to find the variance, I gave you two formulas. We have two formulas, we saw, but we said we are going to use this summation of x squared out of n minus the summation of x out of n squared. But we said this can also be written as summation of x squared out of n minus the mean squared. So then now we're going to, to do this number easier, you just have to redraw this table and do your calculations from the table. I don't know if that makes sense. Let me show you what I'm saying. So we're going to come here and get x, then we write, so let me first pause, then I actually put the answer for the mean, because we are going to need it for this specific part. Okay, so here for our mean we got 73.5%. I'm not sure if that's what we got when we were doing it the first time, but yeah, this is the answer from the calculator when you get it. So now here we are going to calculate the variance. Now we are going to list these values. We're just going to get them from this table. We're going to list our x values. We have 82, 50, 60, 90, 77. Then now we're going to add another column for x squared, because we need the summation of x squared, so we have to add a column for x squared. We're going to, then now let's just put here, to avoid confusing, I should have drawn a table. So we're going to square each of these. So I'm going to pause and square each of these, but also what else do we need? We need the mean, which we already have. So now we can just do that. So let me pause and do that very fast. Okay, so this is our column for x squared. We just kept squaring each value. Square this, square this. So the summation of all these, summation of x squared values is this. Then now we're going to, what else do we need? The mean squared. So the mean squared, which is this, it's going to be 73.5 squared, and this is going to be 5000.25. Now we just put into our formula. Variance is equal to 26 minus this. Then we'll have our answer. So here we would have 21,450.75. So this is our variance. So I think we are now almost done with the ungrouped data. Now anyone who would want to use the other formula that we said, you would just have to add a column, because you already have a column for x. So you have to add a column for x minus x, like x minus the mean. So you get each of these values. This is 82, you subtract the mean, which is 73.3, you get 50. So you add a column for this. Then after that you also add a column for x minus this squared. So you square all the values from this. Now after this you would put into the formula, which would be variance is equal to summation of x minus the mean squared divided by n, which is the number of items. In this case it's 6. So you would do this for your case. Hope this makes sense. Yeah, so I think This marks the end of this session. Though I'm going to add one last number, though I won't do it, I'll just display the answer after, just for us to test ourselves. So take it as a form of exercise. However, the answer will also be provided. So you just, after seeing the question, you pause, then you play after you've gotten your answer and compare. Thank you for following to this point.